He's angry about mortgages. It's Angry Mortgage. He's swearing. He's cursing loud. He's old. He's opinionated. And he's been doing this so damn long. This program is about mortgages, and this is mortgage advice, but the advice may not apply to your situation. Contact licensed mortgage professionals for specific recommendations before you make decisions about mortgages. You may not agree with Ron, but if you don't, he thinks you're wrong. Oh, and did we say there is a lot of swearing?
Okay, we're back.
We're back.
Angry Mortgage is on the air. We got lots of stuff to cover this week. First of all, though, the first thing I got to get into is a follow-up from last week. We got lots more to talk about on the disappearing promissory note money. We're going to hear lots about this scandal moving forward in Ontario mortgage world. Okay. Why do I talk about it a lot? Well, I talk about it, I think about it, I post a lot about it because, one of my goals is that when we talk about people making investments in the mortgage world, like licensed mortgage brokers who people are giving money to and then the money vanishes. Okay. I'm going to talk about that because I'm trying to stop people from going down this road,
right? From
getting their savings taken or even worse.
Right.
So I got to talk about this stuff. We talked about it last week. Claire Drage is a mortgage broker in Hamilton. The company's called the Windrose. It's Windrose Group. Also, she works under something called Lion's Share. She's I didn't have much to do with her, but it's pretty clear from the way the stories are developing that she, and some of it's right in court documents, that there's somehow she's behind 604 promissory notes on a group of companies that owned properties that were supposed to be renovated, and they filed effectively for bankruptcy protection. So when you're a business, it's called CCAA, and it's basically the first step of going into receivership. Okay, so let's talk about this. We had a call that we took yesterday from a gentleman who had worked with Claire Drage for a number of years. Okay, now I'm going to change some of the details because one of the things about people who lose money in investment scams is universally they all feel ashamed.
Of course.
They feel that, oh, I was so stupid. When they look back on it, and because now they're, and sometimes this is really serious money for people's lives. Okay. Yeah. They look back on it and say, how was I fooled? How was I fooled? Because that's kind of a standard human emotion. Like when you look back at something,
you start to see the red flags after the fact.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. And particularly all of these folks are older. This gentleman is in his early 60s. Okay. I think he said he just turned 61. And again, we're changing some of the information because he asked us to. He said,
he wants to be protected, and that's fair.
The funny part is he doesn't need protection. Yeah. Okay, like if and I said that to him, and he said, "Well, no, I still feel this shame that I don't want people to know. I don't want somebody saying, "Oh, that sounds like Jack." Okay,
right.
That's really what it's about.
Of course,
because as I pointed out to him, you shouldn't be ashamed of somebody screwing you. Okay, somebody taking advantage of you, someone gaining your trust, and then your money's wiped out.
That person is who's shameful.
That's the shameful shit. Okay,
right.
You're the victim.
Of course,
you're the victim. But like a lot of things in life, when things go wrong, humans like to look back and, like you said,
naturally we'll blame ourselves, right?
Yeah,
it's a human
100%.
emotion, it's human reaction. We got it.
That's absolutely right. But so his story was to me very interesting. Okay, because he related to me how he had started years ago, and he just sort of semi-retired now, but he was always in trades. He was a tradesman, okay? And he would work with renovation contractors, he was sort of like a sub-trade.
Yeah.
And at some point he had like a couple of people working with him, okay, working for him. They were like a crew. And he would do renovations, and he would talk to the guy who's doing the renovations, because sometimes the person doing the renovations was the owner of the property who's like doing a change, often to add rental units to a building, to a property. Okay. And this guy was also working in Hamilton, Stony Creek area of Ontario. And he eventually, in talking to the people that he was working with and the various people who were redeveloping these properties, he came to hear about how it works. He was curious because it sounded to him like these people were making some money. When they would renovate and sell the house, or renovate and keep it with lots more tenants, whatever the case may be. So eventually he came to talk, and he came to hear about who the mortgage broker was behind it. It was Claire Drage, working with these developers and these people. And, you know, to a certain extent, back in the day, like we go back 6 years or so, it was going okay. And then eventually it came to be that he needed his own mortgage on a property. And he reached out to her because obviously that was the referral base. And one of her people got him a mortgage on a property, which sometimes for self-employed it's not even a walk in the park. But then the relationship began, okay? And the relationship, eventually he bought a small property and did some work on it and eventually sold it, and she provided him with some money. And so you see how it starts to get, you know, there starts to become a real relationship based on mortgages. Okay?
Right.
And then when he was sort of moving into semi-retirement, because let's face it, if you're a tradesperson, your body can wear out sooner than
100%.
Somebody sitting in an office, right?
Yeah, for sure. That's some hard manual labor.
So like I'm always amazed by people. This one guy told me we're doing this mortgage application, and he said, like, you realize I'm a roofer, right? Like that's almost, you know, that's almost barely survivable to get into your 60s. Okay, like stuff happens, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, he was retired, and he had listened to some of Claire Drage's webcasts or podcasts, or I don't know, maybe whatever they were, presentations. And I want to read this because this is right on her company's Windrow's website. Okay. One way of getting a piece of the action is to consider being the banker yourself.
Oh.
So this is how you encourage people to
intriguing
to lend money. Okay. Now, specific strategies, you know, resources, blah, 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 blah. It all sort of rolled back to investing in real estate without being a landlord.
Right.
Okay. We've heard this story before. We see this story. I've been through a lot of scandals in mortgages and investments, property investments in Ontario. I've watched a lot of them. But here's what just jumped out to me. Borrow money to make money.
Oh?
Yep. Borrow money to make money. Because, you know, and here's what sets me off when anybody refers to, you know, you should be the bank. So what really pisses me off is I know humans' relationships with banks. Like we all sort of want our bank because we want to be able to get a credit card, operate a checking account, get a mortgage someday, get a car loan, whatever. We sort of have a relationship with our bank.
Of course.
But if you talk to most Canadians, they also fucking hate their bank.
Of course.
You know, like, fucking bank, you know, I wouldn't do what I wanted to. Fucking bank, well, you know, they asked me to, they put a hold on my check, the fuckers. Okay, like we've all heard it, right? We've all done it.
Everyone has their complaints.
Everyone has their complaints.
Yeah.
So, but when you say you can be the bank, it's a strange process, right? Because it's sort of inferring that a human could be like one of these vast, huge corporations, old corporations too.
Yeah.
Like, this is wild because two Canadian banks are ranked under large, systemic, worldwide organizations. Okay, like we're rated on Earth. These two banks. Okay, like the whole world.
Ultimate rating.
They're rated as systemically important to the whole world. Okay.
Yeah, that speaks volumes.
So how the hell am I going to try to pretend I'm a bank?
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
Like, I mean, it's just bullshit marketing. But anyway, the story he told went, like I said, he progressed, and his faith in her developed from his sort of relationships and working with her and doing mortgages with her. And then eventually it comes around to this promissory note thing. Okay. So then he had actually invested in a private mortgage, and that property was sold, and he got it back. Remember, he'd come to this from borrowing money, and then working with her and working with her people.
Yeah.
Okay. And then listening to her stories and her presentations about this stuff. And so when he was coming to the sort of semi-retirement stage, like a lot of people in their 60s in Ontario, he had a house, his originally owner-occupied house that he'd bought years before, and had gone way, way, way the fuck up in value. Okay,
Right.
like it's quadruple, whatever, 8 times. That is a huge number. Okay,
Yeah.
So he had equity in that house, and he'd paid his mortgage down, and he had equity in that house. So when he continued his discussions with her about how to invest. Here's how it works. Like if we go back to say the year 2000 when he started in his investments with her, which was COVID, but still COVID had sort of mid-year real estate had taken off. Okay. And it was obviously looked to everybody by the middle of 2000 that was good, he started in 2000 and real estate was humming along.
Did you mean 2020?
2020, yeah.
Right.
I meant 2020.
Okay.
Sorry. I meant 2020.
Yeah.
So things are humming along, and she offered various types of investments. So you could have a private mortgage that paid you a rate of return, a rate of interest of say 8-9%, maybe as much as 10. Then you could have a second mortgage that paid maybe 10, 12, 13, whatever. But then you could have a promissory note that paid 15%. Now, if we go back to right? You see how people get now a bunch of crazy people online are going to comment, well, that's greed. Fuck him. He just got whatever happened to him. He deserved it. He should have taken the safer route. Okay. Like, please, Jesus, let's all not blame the victim.
People want to make money. It's natural. We need to make money to survive in this country. It's natural.
Yes. Thank you. Okay. Yes, you should think about it. But remember, she was trusted already.
Exactly.
Okay. That's what everybody's got to get about this stuff. They didn't just, look at an ad that says we pay 15% and say, here, take my money.
Exactly.
Okay?
There was a foundation built already.
Of course. That's the most important thing to remember.
Yeah.
The way these people, like Bernie Madoff, the famous scammer, I mean, he was the president of the goddamn NASDAQ, okay? Like, he was universally believed to be a genius, okay? People look up to him, okay?
Yeah.
People shouldn't say, oh, yeah, Bernie, yeah, everybody should have seen that coming. No, nobody sees it coming, okay?
Of course.
And that's the same situation here. The foundation, as you well put it, is laid.
Yeah.
All right, so we go back to 2000. He takes his promissory notes, and it starts out slow. It's like he had like $50,000 of his own money, and everything worked out well on the promissory notes. And then he, just the same way all of us are faced with, people need to make more money, and it was going well, 15%. By the way, back 15%, GICs were paying like 1/4% back then. So 15% is like a miracle.
Yeah.
Okay, it's like the greatest thing that ever happened. So then, as things developed, he thought, well, is there ways I can make more money? And of course, talking to them, they would say, well, we could get you a HELOC, a home equity line of credit on your house. And then you could, that interest rate, and at the time it was low, it was like 2.95. And then we were lending out, we can do the bigger promissory notes at like 15%. Okay. So sure enough, gradually we got, and so if you think about it, the mortgage broker actually gets paid for doing the HELOC.
Twice, yeah.
And then they gets paid, they're obviously making some money on the promissory notes.
Oh, God.
And then he ends up putting, in the very end, like this year, we're talking, last year, 2023.
Yeah.
He ends up he's up to like $375,000. Okay. And here's what he told me. He said, because we just talked to him the other day, he said the payments only stopped 10 days ago. The payment that was due that I should have received stopped. And then we got an email, said, oh, you may have heard of the incidents that are going on with this promissory note scenario. But don't worry. I mean, things we hope to resolve them soon.
Hope.
Okay? Yeah. Well, I know that sweet fuck all is going to be resolved soon. It's just going to get worse. Okay. So the final outcome of this is, because a person was told that they should be the bank, And as we probably know, banks take in cash to lend out cash. They work on the spread.
Yeah.
So the idea is, hey, I'm going to borrow money at, now it's turned into 7.7. So it's gone way up over time. I'm going to borrow money at 7.7, but I'm going to make 15%, so I'm doing fine. Okay, and that's a lot. That way, I got a lot more because I got leverage, right? Now I'm up to 375,000 that I'm getting this 15% on.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing great. Okay,
Right.
but leverage kills when it goes backwards, right? So I guarantee you, what all these people, and I've had many other discussions with others about this, and I'm guaranteeing you, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these investors across the province.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
And sadly, most of them are not young. They're old farts like me. Okay. And a ton of them have borrowed. They've got those
God.
HELOCs on their homes.
Yeah.
And they've invested money and it's all stopped.
That's
Okay.
fucked up.
Now, yeah, it's very fucked up. Yeah, that's probably the best way of putting it.
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, this whole thing's going to go to rat shit. Like these people with promissory notes, I believe all of them are going to be wiped out. All of them. Oh, by the way, he mentioned that one of the things that made him really feel confident about this great relationship he had with Claire Drage, is that Claire Drage actually personally guaranteed in her own name the promissory notes he did. Like her name was not just a corporation,
Right.
but her own name. Okay, because he was being told the money was being used to renovate properties, but there was never any specific property that these promissory notes were even assigned to. It was just, Claire Drage and whatever corporation it was behind the promissory note promises to pay you back someday, and we're going to pay you this much interest.
Like you said this week, it's no better than a pinky promise.
It's a pinky swear. Yeah, it's a pinky swear I'll give you your money back. Because there's, when you get a private mortgage, folks, always remember, folks who are listening, watching, you get a private mortgage, you give the money to a lawyer, and the lawyer shows you that he's put you on the title of the property. You're there, okay? You actually have first or second priority. The owner of the property is out and left. They're out behind everybody. The real people who have priority on the sale of that home, if it has to come to that, is the first mortgage holder.
So why is this allowed? Because if you're 60, 65, 70 and you have this HELOC now and you've got to pay it off, and you don't have that money, you're fucked.
You're kind of fucked.
Why is this allowed?
You were taking the money from the promissory note interest and you were paying the HELOC payment, and you were also you were making a little bit of money for yourself, okay, for you to live on.
Yeah.
Right. And now it looks like that's all gone. You're going to lose every penny of that, but you're going to be left with owing the money
debt
on the HELOC.
Now you're left with debt.
Yeah. It's
even
just
more than what they probably had before.
Far more.
Yeah.
Far more. They had this man, he's small. He was down to like $125,000 mortgage. Okay.
Oh my God.
And then he has this huge HELOC now, $375,000. Okay.
Holy shit, man.
So yeah, it's an utter disaster, an unqualified disaster. He's asking me. So he actually even said to me, he said, I think the money's gone. What do you think?
Oh no, that's so heartbreaking.
It's pretty damn heartbreaking. But
Fuck.
I said to him, by the way, he's like he's a tradesman, so he's like a tough guy. Okay, he's like he's not a little. He's been through life. Like he's been self-employed.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's when he said to me, he says, hey, make sure that if you talk about this, you should talk about it because I feel I've been robbed.
Of course.
But change all my details because I don't want to.
You don't want somebody to figure it out. I get it.
And he's ashamed. Even at the end of the phone call, he says, I just feel ashamed. I feel like a fool. I don't want anybody to know how stupid I was. I said, you weren't stupid.
Yeah.
You were a victim.
Yeah.
Okay. You trusted someone based on years of experience with them.
Yeah.
And they turned around and screwed you.
Basically.
Okay? Yeah.
Holy shit, man.
There's a lot of that. When a lot of these people who are victims who have got that email that said, oh, the payments have stopped. Okay. I got more info, but I promised another guy who gave me some more info that I'd let him break the story first. It's even worse. It's even worse. Okay. And at the end of the day, Yeah, I said to him when he asked me, "Do you think?" I says, "I think the money's gone. Do you think the money's gone?" I said, "Yeah, I think the money's gone too."
Fuck.
I'm very, very sorry.
Yeah.
But I warned him. I said, "Don't think yourself. Don't you blame yourself if somebody else did this to you. Okay, don't blame yourself." So.
Yeah.
And again, the reason I talk about this a lot, and people are going to start to say things like, "Now, well, where was the regulator? Where was the regulator?" I got news for you. Promissory notes are not regulated. They don't fall under any act. Okay.
Right.
Now, would I suggest, and by the way, I'm 28 years doing this, and I've never heard of this bullshit before. All of a sudden, it just jumped up in the last 12 months. We got Greg Martel out in Victoria. He's stealing money from people on promissory notes and disappearing. People think he's in Thailand now. He just disappeared, took all the money and ran away.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And now we got this promissory note disaster. But I've been doing this for 28 years. I never heard of mortgage brokers selling promissory notes.
So
okay?
then now it's an issue. Then what are they going to do about it?
The right approach, in my opinion, is for all the mortgage regulators across Canada, the mortgage brokerage regulators across Canada, to forbid mortgage brokers from dealing in promissory notes. Like, in other words, if the mortgage broker themselves wants to issue a promissory note with their own money or their own corporation's money, their own act, not investors' money, not a touch of it, anybody. No. Don't solicit any, hey, you want to do a promissory note? No, you're not allowed to do that. If you got $1 million in your brokerage's account and you want to lend somebody $60,000 for a bridge loan, go ahead. But that's your money. That's the mortgage broker's money. Okay.
Yeah.
That should be fine. But mortgage brokers should be banned from soliciting money from the public to go out as promissory notes. They should be banned. I got a feeling we'll see that within the next 12 months. They'll be banned.
Hopefully,
Okay, yeah.
because this shit needs to stop happening.
Well, we don't know how much more of it there is, but we're going to find out. Okay. So, rates. What happened with rates? We said last week rates were up. They are not as up as they were. It's not as severe. They were just rocketing for a while there. I'll give you an idea of the volatility. In 3 days this week, 5-year bond yields went from 384 all the way down to 3.66 in just 3 days. Of course, of 3 days.
Holy shit.
And then they bounced up to around like 3.7 something now. Okay,
Yeah.
3.78 or so. Anyway, a lot of movement. I'm not really, I've talked to other people who are in the business and I've talked to other people who are in capital markets, and everybody agrees the level of volatility in the last year in the bond market has been ferocious. And bond market drives rates, right?
Right.
So yes, we're all settling into higher rates than existed. One guy said to me, one comment said, "Well, how much are they up? 2%?" I said, Jesus fucking Christ. If they were up 2%, it would be like everybody in the world would be talking about it. It'd be like an apocalypse. No, they're not up 2%. Okay. But they are up. They're up from their all-time. We had an all-time low, not all-time, that's bullshit, but we had a multi-year low of 4.69 on a 5-year. We were offering a high ratio. I think it's up to 4.84 now, 4.79, something like that. But but hold on. I got to say something really important. I did misspeak last week.
And the people did not let you forget it.
No one lets you forget. When you make a mistake in social media, you got a lot of people telling you just how stupid you are. I mean, they will really emphasize that you're an idiot. Okay. So I misspoke. When money is flying into buy bonds, the yields go down. They don't go up. So I did indeed misspoke. All you people thank you all for your comments, especially people. But what I love, you know what I love? I love they're all anonymous, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, everybody's anonymous. Like when the person says, "You don't know what you're talking about, you fat fuck," that's always somebody like with a banana with a tongue hanging out is their avatar, and their online name is Missy Licky 7283976. Okay, so like that's always the person who's telling you how stupid you are. Okay. Anyway, yes, misspoke. When people are buying bonds, the yields go down. When people are selling bonds, the yields go up. So they were selling stocks and bonds last week, but it's a very frantic marketplace. I think everybody keeps coming. And by the way, every time this happens, one interesting feature is about 10% of the people will say, "Hey, I got news for you, fat boy. The rates are going to 11%. Okay, they're going to 11. You don't know shit. Okay, like." Okay, sorry.
But the banana does.
Banana with a tongue is an expert, yeah. But look, the long-term trend for fixed rates, and eventually, listen, everybody, eventually, the Bank of Canada, the Federal Reserve in the United States, central banks all over the world. So, like in New Zealand, which is actually one of the smallest population countries in the world. I think it's only got like 8 million people. Okay, like seriously, this is the thing that always gets to me. Everybody says things like, "Well, New Zealand's doing this, and Denmark's doing that, and Norway. Look at Norway over here; they're doing this." And like, there's fewer people in some of these countries than there are in the GTA. Than there are in Toronto. They're smaller. Like, there's less people in I think. Like, seriously, I'm not full.
No, yeah.
Like, I mean, for instance, in Norway, I think there's less people than the lower mainland in BC, okay? Like, it's only 5 million people in Norway. Sweet Jesus. I mean, like, please stop talking about it. It's like a city. It's like 1/4 the size of fucking LA or something, you know? Like, come on, let's be serious, okay? Let's not use them as the example. So apparently New Zealand central bank has raised rates because they have lots of inflation problems there. But I say this clearly, like, we've had these central bankers come out and say they've stopped raising rates. Inflation is not going back to 7 or 8 or 9%. Although I'm sure Missy Licky's going to put up a comment. Yes, it is. Yes, it is, you fucking idiot. Okay, like, all right, fine. But like, as I said before 1,000 times, the trend will eventually be lower because the economy is not doing that great. Okay. And eventually we will see lower central bank rates and fixed rates will come down. But it's not a straight line.
Of course, never is.
It's bumpy. So we're going through some bumps right now. Okay. All right. We got our, let's take some viewer and listener mail. So we got questions from our viewers.
Okay, this first one says, why does my mortgage broker say rental mortgage rates are always higher, but CIBC tells me no, rates are the same on everything?
That's a technical question, which is but still valid. It's so for most mortgage brokers, because let's face it, mortgage brokers are not treated exactly the same way as banks treat their own reps or their own offerings. Okay, if you're a bank, you're one thing. You may offer through mortgage brokers. CIBC does not. Okay, but you might be, if your bank offering through mortgage brokers, you also always have to take in consideration how you're compensating the mortgage broker. You've got to pay the mortgage broker something. So in theory, your own employees are sort of half-assed free, right? But yes, most of the banks and other institutions that work within the mortgage broker space do have slightly higher rates. We're only talking 10 basis points, okay? Basis points, 0.1%, okay? Slightly higher for most situations. But a bank like CIBC, just with their own customers, could choose to offer the same rate as they offer for every house. That's their choice, okay? Now, here's the interesting part. When we're comparing rates, we got to know the actual rate. You know, like if CIBC says, yes, for your rental, we're going to offer you 5.693 a year. And if a mortgage broker is saying, yes, for the rental, there is this tiny rate premium and we're offering you 5.39. Well, I guess I know which is better, 5.39 or 5.69. I guess we better take 5.39. Okay. Whether or not there is a rate differential for rentals or not, it's just about what's the best net rate you can get. That's what the story is.
Right. This one says, we are looking at a pre-sale condo. They said 5%, 5%, 5%, 5% over 2 years. What if we cannot make one of those 5%?
Okay, so I guess what I'm interpreting here is that somebody is looking at buying a pre-construction condominium, which normally these projects take between 5 and 6 years to close. And, you know, they solicit people to come and buy. Okay, here, come and buy. Now, if I go back just even to a year or so ago, right? Or 2 years, 2 years ago, nobody was offering this. Like if you wanted to buy a condominium, you better have 20% of the purchase price ready to go. Like that was how it worked. Like we'll give you, maybe we'll break it up with 2 payments but let's say you're buying a $600,000 condominium. They wanted you, and it wasn't going to be ready for 5 or 6 years. They wanted you to give them $120,000 right away. Yeah. Like either right away or over the course of 6 months or something, but we want to get our money in quick. Okay. I think it's a pretty good indication of the weakness in the ability, because we've covered this before. Yeah. It's very, very, very slow to sell these condo towers now, these pre-construction. that are going to be ready in 5 or 6 years. The prices are high.
Yeah.
Square footage is tiny, and people ain't buying.
Nope.
Okay. So this might be a plan to offer it in a different way, to say, okay, we're going to try to entice you to buy our pre-construction condominium by offering you this easier payment system. So if we're selling you a $600,000 condo, we only want $30,000 now, and then $30,000 in 6 months, and then now I question how anybody's going to raise. What's the difference?
It's just a different marketing approach.
Different approach,
but sure.
Yeah, but it's a good question because traditionally, if you were coming up with 60,000 and then 60,000, 4 months later, you had a pretty good idea that you could get yourself the other 60,000. Like it's a condensed time frame.
Right.
So if you're saying to yourself, "Well, will I be able to make all the payments?" If you have to ask that question, you probably shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like, because
save yourself the trouble.
Because at the end of the day, if you can't abide by the payment schedule, based on how you read that contract with the builder, you might lose your deposit.
Yeah.
Deposit you gave.
The last thing you want.
No, I mean, but I understand the question, but like I said, it's a function of the difficulty to get people to buy pre-construction condos today. So that's what we're looking at.
Got it. And this one says, how does prepayment on mortgages really work? My bank said 15-15. What is that?
Yeah, that's, we all, I think whether you're a bank rep, a bank mortgage rep, or whether you're a mortgage broker, unfortunately, you tend to fall into jargon sometimes. You're just talking, you think you understand it, so you think everybody should understand it, right? So prepayment works like this. If you got a mortgage, when you sign up, within the contract, they offer ways for you to pay the mortgage off faster.
Right.
Okay. So you could pay, but it's by contract definition. So you can either pay 10%, you can increase your payments. Let's take the payment increase thing. You can increase your payments by 10%. Maybe the bank allows you to increase it by 15%. Maybe it allows you to increase it by 20%. Now, this is in a 1-year period. So like if you in a rolling 12 months moving forward, if you started with a payment of $2,000 a month and you were allowed 20% increase within the first year, and by the way, it could conceivably be a week after you got the mortgage. It could be really soon, okay? But you could increase from $2,000 to $2,200, okay? And then the following year, you go for $2,200. You go, once you hit the 12-month mark and rolled into month 13, you can increase that again if you want by 20%. Okay.
Got it.
But why they say 15-15 or 20-20 is you have an additional way to pay the mortgage off faster, which is called lump sum payment. So for many banks, it's 10%. For some banks, it's 15%. For a lot of banks, it's 20%. Okay. So that means if you have a $500,000 mortgage, you could actually pay $100,000 in lump sum per year. There's a theory that you could pay your whole mortgage off in 5 years, even if you have a 5-year term.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can combine these two systems. Now, sometimes people say, well, where the hell am I getting $100,000 from? I mean, yes. Okay. I'm just telling you what's allowed.
It's in theory.
It's a theory. It's allowed. Okay. So that's when people say prepayment is 20-20 or prepayment is 15-15. That's what they're referring to. They're referring to you can increase your payment by 15%. And you can make lump sum payments up to 15% of the value of the mortgage. Okay, that's what that means. All right. Okay, so what's with house sales going on? What do you think? What are you hearing? What do you think?
Things are slow.
Things are slow. They continue to be slow, but they're not as slow as, say, this ridiculously bad winter we went through like last fall, right?
Yeah.
They're picking up a bit. The January sales were up in Ontario. They were up in British Columbia. They were up in Alberta. But Alberta's been doing pretty good anyway, all the way through. But what I'm hearing on the street and the sort of in Ontario anyway, it looks like halfway through February, it's looking pretty good again. Like it's going to be up from last year.
Yeah, I did hear that quite a bit of people are like losing their bids, so they're being outbidded. So it seems like things are picking up for sure.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point because like we went through a number of months where there were virtually no multiple bids, and now we're back at it again.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that really reflects something we talked about. Like if you got a house that you really, really, really expect you're going to sell for $1 million, and you offer it for 700, which is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, but it's ridiculous.
To each their own, but
that's the system,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So you're going to have a bunch of people who really, really want to buy a house. Young people who really want to buy a house. They say, "Oh, look at that! That house used to sell for $1 million, and they're offering it for 700."
They're going to jump.
They're going to throw some offers at it, but the offers aren't going to work out. Now, here's something interesting. You mentioned about offers failing. Okay, we still continue to see offers with conditions, offers on houses with conditions. What's that mean? They still want to do an inspection. They still want to do a house inspection. Okay, and a lot of times these things break down on a house inspection. There's things about. Hey, I can tell you one thing about house inspection. Every house inspector knows their job is to somehow tell you there's something wrong with the fucking house.
Always.
Like, I've never seen a house inspection and always said, this is the best house I ever saw. It's perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, that will literally never happen
No.
in the history of house inspection.
Yeah.
Never going to fucking happen. Okay. All right. So we still see that breakdown.
Yeah.
So will house sales activity go up in Ontario? Yeah. I think it will.
The spring market's here.
But will it be choked off by the fact that there probably isn't going to be any cuts this spring? Like, here's what happens here's where we're at with these batshit crazy house prices we have. Because the house prices here are crazy.
Yeah.
You've talked about it. I've talked about it.
Yeah, disgusting.
Disgusting. Okay. For young people to buy, it's disgusting. Okay.
It's a far-fetched dream.
Far-fetched dream. It's just a little bit depressing. But
Yeah.
Here's the thing. When you are faced with the desire to buy a home, buy your first home in a marketplace that is look, it's not like you're buying a home in Brandon, Manitoba, where you go out and just say, yeah, we'll start looking. They're probably about 200, maybe 225, and we got a down payment. We can go buy that. Like, it is not like that.
No.
Okay, in a lot of other places in Canada.
And even if you say, oh, I'll just drive to work, which is an hour or two away, it's like it's still just as expensive. So it's like, what's the point? Like, we might as well just stay and suffer in the city.
Look, but that's the point, right? If people have a desire to buy a home and they are very aware of the high prices, here's what I know about people who want to try to buy a home. They pay attention to the marketplace. They may not have ever paid attention to their lives before, but they are now, and they will read and they will study. And let's face it, when you're talking about digital online information, there's tons of it.
It's free.
Okay.
And it's free.
It's free. You can spend all night reading it if you want.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening, I believe, is that people, if they do dive on this, they come to believe that rates drive prices. Mortgage rates drive prices. And to a certain extent, that's very true. Okay. But then they start to, what I call, front run the market. Like, they'll start to think, well, if the Bank of Canada is going to cut, then rates are coming way down, and then prices will go way up. So I better buy now because the prices are lower. Okay. Okay, that's a theory.
Sure.
And it's not a bad idea. But what if the cuts don't happen for a while?
Right.
So, we saw some rates in the 4s. Rates have moved back up into the 5s. And that's still, with these high house prices, that's very, very big payments. So when it sort of boils down to, when will the Bank of Canada cut? And I've said it's the summer. The most recent CPI reports in the United States, which were running pretty hot, the jobs reports we've been getting in Canada also, and the U.S. jobs reports, also hot. That is to say, aggressive, up. I'm thinking the central banks, it's going to be summer or fall. Like, anybody who
now you're thinking fall?
I could be.
Yeah?
Like, we're going to watch it. Here's what we know, though. We've talked about it on the show a dozen times. There's some layoffs happening. The economy is Canadian Tire announced our store sales have gone to shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, I don't shop much at Canadian Tire. I don't know if you do, but I don't shop at Canadian
really.
Tire. But it tells me there's a group of people who have less money to spend in Canadian Tire, because some people love to buy that shit, right? I mean, buy all that fishing gear and all that sport goods, whatever the hell it is. It tells me if those sales are down, that's not a good indication for the economy.
No, of course.
Okay, so you try to figure that out. I always said summer. I never said March cuts ever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the March cut concept is dead. Okay, it's dead as fuck. Okay?
Yeah.
Will there be a rate hike? No. I'm telling you right now, there'll be no hike. The Canadian economy is in a delicate state at the very best. So nothing happens in March to the Bank of Canada. Does it happen in July? Could. Yeah, we don't know how bad the economy is going to get. Could it be pushed out to the fall? Possibly. I know I'm going to get a ton of comments about, no, you're crazy. The U.S. Fed's going to go up, or the U.S. Fed's never going to cut it. Please, Jesus. Okay, calm down. Okay.
Bananas, relax.
Okay. So my thesis remains the same, that eventually we will see cuts. When the cuts come, we don't know. But for the people who are running out and thinking that they should buy a house right now, it may be that if people don't buy houses now, it's possible that prices may languish, because we watch prices go down. Even the national survey numbers of house prices in December showed a clear path downwards in prices. So I've heard some rumors about that in the GTA, some prices may be up a bit versus the really low point in December. That remains to be seen. And it also breaks down by condos or by single family. So we got all that going on too. So, hey, this is getting to be our favorite part of the program.
What the actual fuck?
And there's a two-parter.
It's a two-part.
It's a two-part.
Oh no!
What the actual fuck this week? Because in the Parliament of Canada, the leader of the opposition, Pierre Poilievre, actually said, he stood up and he was asking a question, and he actually said, WTF. That was part of his question.
Classy.
So I don't think he's copying me for fucking sure. But no, I know he's not. And the Speaker of the House said, because the Speaker's confused, right?
Yeah.
Some of these guys are pretty old, right?
Yeah.
I think this guy's in his 60s, the Speaker. And he stands up and says, I'm not sure, he says, but I think we're getting close to unparliamentary language. You're not supposed to swear in Parliament, right?
Yeah, of course.
You're definitely not supposed to swear in Parliament. But he says, I think we're getting close to it.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
And if the leader of the opposition in the Parliament of Canada is standing up and saying WTF, well, I think it leads credence.
There.
It leads credence to our situation.
Yeah.
Because what everybody tells me is, and I think this is what Pierre Poilievre is going for, people who swear are more honest. Like, I don't know if that's true about politicians, but I'm hoping it's true, because I swear a lot, for fuck's sakes. All right, so what am I really pissed off about this week? God damn it, this Arrive scam bullshit.
Oh my God.
The fucking ArriveCAN app.
What was it, 60 million?
59.5. Another one of these banana with a tongue pricks put in a comment that said, I see all kinds of different numbers on that. No, the fucking Auditor General said 59.5, so I get to round up to 60, you fucker. Okay? So yes, it started as an estimate for $2.7 million was the estimate to build the app.
Right.
And somehow it turned into 60 fucking million. Now, how the fuck, right? How the fuck? And by the way, they're investigating the shit out of it. The Auditor General said, she did her little report on it, and she said, it's the worst project management budgeting I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And I've been auditing for my whole life, okay?
Oh, my God.
Like, no one can explain this to me, what happened to this mess, all right?
Shit show.
She says, I don't understand where the money went either, and I'm the Auditor General, for fuck's sakes,
That's such a red flag.
Whoa. Now, a respected newspaper in Quebec, La Presse, has subsequently published that they think, wait a second, for the Arrive scam app, these guys got nearly 60 million, but we think these consulting people, this particular consulting group that was involved in getting all this money, we think that they've gotten another nearly $200 million. Maybe this is $250 million of money that's poured down on this company.
What?
Yeah, the jury's out. We're going to see later. But you know what makes me so fucking mad? And I posted about this on others in other situations in Instagram and in X. What makes me so fucking mad about this is it's a symptom. The spending is a symptom of government pissing money away.
Literally.
Every direction. Fucking, there's a gun registry that was supposed to cost like 10 million, ended up costing like 2 billion. Fucking, they were going to fix the civil service payroll system. It's called the Phoenix system. They brought it in. It was supposed to be, it cost billions. Then they spent $2 billion fixing it because it never fucking worked. Okay.
Oh my God.
They're building a new building for the Supreme Court. They're improving the Supreme Court building there for three courthouses.
Yeah. It was like 26 offices.
And 26 offices. It's going to cost $1.7 billion, and they're not sure. It could be a lot more. Okay. This is fucking crazy.
Yeah,
the government
so
disintegrates
bizarre.
money, and people sit back and say, "Oh, Ron, but that's every country. The government disintegrates money. It's just the way it goes." Fuck that. Okay,
Yeah.
it's my fucking money. You're one of the
course.
highest taxed fucking countries in fucking in the
Yeah,
world. Okay,
yeah.
highest tax, taxed every way, taxed up the ass. Okay.
Yeah.
And when I hear about this bullshit, these guys got 60 million. We're not sure why. Fuck you. Okay. Honestly, fuck you all.
Literally.
Call the cops. Okay. I want the RCMP to study what the fuck happened here.
Seriously.
Okay. If somebody, somehow we're not sure where the money went, but it's gone. It's all gone. And we're not giving it back.
How is that okay of an explanation?
If you got the auditor fucking general, sorry, she's a nice lady. I probably shouldn't call her the auditor fucking general. But anyway. She's never seen a worse, undocumented, nobody can figure out the fucking accounting piece of bullshit in her whole career. What's that say? All right?
Enough said, man.
Enough is enough.
Fucking hell.
Government, figure it the fuck out. Stop it. Stop disintegrating money.
Stop
God
playing
damn
with
it.
my money.
It's our fucking money, right?
Stop playing with our money.
Stop it. Just stop it. All right. See you next week.
If you like the pod, well, don't just sit there. Go to YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and all the other ones and like the pod. And don't forget to subscribe so we can keep being angry at mortgages and swearing about mortgages. Angry Mortgage could use your support.